here? You ever notice that the information that we're being fed doesn't always add up to the truth? Do you ever look out your window at night when the rain's falling down? You ever look down the street and wonder what is going on around you? You ever look out at night and ask yourself, is this all that I am? Where am I? What am I? Is this all there is? Is this real life? As technology continues to bring us closer together, it also tears us further apart. We watch the skies and look at the planet around us and its natural beauty as it continues to march forward on and on and on, unending, unceasing, unwavering. And yet our world, everything that we've built, crumbles around us. We wonder, is this it? Is there more? There's got to be. We can search. We want to learn. We want to understand. We want to see all that we can see, know all that we can know. We want to look out there. We want to peek behind the veil. We want to ask the questions that nobody will answer. We want to light those fires, the sparks that ignite a curiosity in us. And we ask ourselves, what is out beyond all of that? Beyond the edge of reality.
Good evening, everybody. It's Kaiser. It's Wednesday, and you all know what that means. It's time for the edge of reality. And this is going to be an interesting one. This one hits close to home in a very literal fashion. So, we have got quite a bit of ground to cover, and yeah, we've got a limited amount of time to do it because I am extremely tired and I'm running on less than 4 hours of sleep. And yeah, I'm setting a hard cutoff of 2 hours, so I'm gonna try and keep this, fairly moving forward. But we've got a very interesting and wild story tonight. One that gosh, it just the one thing that sets this story really apart from others, and I have to be very specifically, I gotta kind of explain. Not only does this one it kind of hit close to home, geographically speaking, but there's a lot of very interesting things that happen in this story that we're about to delve into tonight that just kind of stand out and make one go, what the heck is going on? So we've got a lot to cover tonight. And so as we are looking out there, with people are filing in, people are showing up. I say we are live over on here at YouTube. We are also live over on Rumble. Hello to all my Rumble viewers out there. We are also live over on X, well, formerly Twitter, and we are looking to see exactly what transpires with this case, because there's a lot to unpack. So to everybody out there, thank you so much for coming in, joining the show. I really appreciate all of you being here. And say whether you're catching it on the replay or whether you're here right now, I say I appreciate every single one of you. Looks like we got currently 4 over on Rumble, and we are picking up. I think we have 5 here currently over here on YouTube right now. So again, audience is picking up. I know it's kind of a odd hour to be going. I know there's a lot of other folks out there that are probably running different streams and whatnot, but it's Wednesday. We like to get a little weird around here. All right. And as always, so just kind of gonna go ahead and hit a couple of really quick topics, things that I've made note of recently that we need to kind of make mention of. And there's some updates to some really cool stories, and I hope to be able to share those with you. Definitely new content that's going to be coming down the pipe at some point or another. So really quick here, I'm going to go ahead and jump over on this side. So a couple of things we got just actually to yesterday. So over here on Twitter, we did get some confirmation from Senator Anna Paulina Luna and Representative Anna Paulina Luna and Representative Tim Burchett of Tennessee that we've got some confirmation, we've got some forward movement in the David Grush situation. So Anna Paulina Luna here saying, just got word that we will be allowed to do a skiff, classified UFAP briefing, referencing Grush with the IG. So that's what they talked about back when we covered the UAP hearing in Congress live. They were talking about getting a skiff, which is a secure classified information forum. And it's kind of basically like a sealed room. It's very much a place where you can talk and give information, and you don't have to worry about, prying ears and whatnot. They're apparently hard to get. There's not very many of them, and there's a lot that goes on in those skiffs that we're not privy to, and obviously with reason. But yeah, we got the update here from Anna Paulina Luna that they are moving forward. They do have a skiff scheduled over here on Live Nation. They did cover, or sorry, not Live Nation, News Nation. Tim Burchett did give a brief interview, which we will go ahead and listen to in a bit, and just a very short little thing kind of explaining what's going on. But yeah, looks like by Christmas of this year, we will have had David Grush in a skiff to talk to the Inspector General of the Congress, and his concerns will finally be able to be aired. So we are gonna go ahead and listen to this really quick. It's only a minute 15, and then we'll get over to the actual story for the evening.
When are you going to do this? When are you going to go into this?
Come on.
It'll be before Christmas, I believe, is what we've heard. It's coming.
Hang on, I'm trying to.
When are you going to do this? When are you going to go into this?
It'll be before Christmas, I believe, is what we've heard. It's coming up here in the next couple of weeks, from what I understand. But all those things are kind of subjective to what's going on elsewhere.
Yeah,
of course, in Washington.
I think probably getting a
speaker, because a lot of people are asking.
Yeah, I imagine so. Very quickly, Congressman, do you go into the skiff with David Grush, or do you just go through the documents that he has assembled for you?
I believe, first of all, we'll go through with the documents. That would be a secondary thing, which I understand is in the works as well. But from what I understand, there's a lot more than Grush out there. Dave's a buddy of mine, but there's a lot more than Grush out there that have this information, and we're going to get to it. And that's why people are very nervous, and they should be at the Pentagon, because they've been covering this thing up since 1947. And now all of a sudden, hey, 55% of America believes that there's something else out there. A major news network like yourself is covering this, so they realize there's money available. They want us to study it now. All I say is bring out the documents. Let the American public decide. You all have been great in the media by keeping the heat on them, and thank y'all for that.
And that is the update from Representative Burchett.
When are you going to do this? When are you?
There we go. As far as that goes, I mean, that's the big update right now to that case. And as far as I'm aware right now, there's a few other things that I've been kind of keeping tabs on, just seeing what's going on. But to be completely honest with you, this is the one that's been occupying my most attention. There's some very interesting unexplained sightings that actually took place recently in the current incident over in the Gaza Strip. And yeah, there's a lot to go over with this case. So there's all sorts of things that we are going to be talking about. And possibly even some new footage released that may actually show some of the things going on with the Virginia UAP crash, which we have not covered yet, but we will be doing fairly soon. And I will, I will update that as is. There's a lot of study and a lot of verification, documentation, that kind of thing I need to get done first, but some compelling things. And that is a wild story that we will get back into here before long. All right. So that little bit of housekeeping is done. Let's go around, say hi to everybody. Mrs. K. Griff. Hey, friends. Hey, Miss K. Griff. How you doing? AP, evening, y'all. Always happy to have you, AP. Tits and ray guns. Pineapple. Hey, buddy. Good to see you. Shizzy Wiznut. Hey, Shizzy. I'm running naked tonight. All right. Hey, pants are prison. And Jude Curio, Kaiser Pineapple. Always lovely to have you there, Jude. Always appreciate having you in there. And Gigi got tied up. Sorry I'm late. Don't worry. We were just doing our usual, kind of doing a little housekeeping, a little bit of, just getting some things, in groundwork laid and just setting the tone. And then, of course, genitals. Hey, guys, I'm late again. Don't worry. You haven't missed anything because we haven't got into the story yet. I always try and put a little buffer from the time that I start, so that way we have time for everybody to fall in. Gigi says, loving the candles. Thank you. I do enjoy decorating for the Halloween season, and wanted to bring you guys some really interesting spooky stories and do what I always do here on Edge to Reality. We're covering real cases with real people and real things that have happened, and trust me, a lot of things that have allegedly happened. We cover from all of the angles. We try to make sure that if there's anything to debunk, we debunk it. If there's anything that is sketchy and interesting and unexplained, we'll cover that as well. You will always know where I stand because I will always tell you exactly where I'm coming from. And Ms. K. Griff saying, I enjoy a good ambiance. Fantastic. Say. I am one of those rare weird people that does kind of like to decorate a little bit, but I'm kind of particular about it, so. And pardon me, I've had a little bit of a stressful week, so I'm needing my Nick fix. All right. So we have got that all covered up there. We are all set and ready to go. As always, folks, again, definitely don't forget we are running the stream live, as I mentioned, here on YouTube. We are also running live over on Rumble and on X, formerly known as Twitter. All of it live. Don't forget, go over to those locations. You can find them in the pinned comment, and you can actually go ahead and like those, spread the word, retweet links. That way they spread around. Get this out there to more people, because guess what, folks? I did have a really cool thing. I'm sorry to derail, but something cool did happen in the last couple of days. So we have got some really cool update on my channel situation. So currently, at this moment, I am sitting at a very nice 685 subscribers. I am beyond ecstatic that you guys all seem to like my content, like what I do, and are willing to put your money where your mouth is, and to not only show your support for my channel, but to also get the word out. I try to be upfront with you guys, try to put out the best content possible. And now that we have an opportunity to kind of have support for the channel coming direct from you guys, direct from the audience, it is more important than ever. And I am so happy that I'm able to finally start putting more effort and more of, what you guys can, help me with toward the channel and making it better. Yes, Jude Curio, let's get to 1,000. That actually brings me to my next point. So, obviously, I'm not going to make 1,000 by my 1 year on YouTube, which will be in November 10th, but we are probably going to be getting close. So I'm going to say if we can hit 700 subscribers before that time, that is 15 more subscribers, I will, it's like before November 10th, we will do a 1 year on YouTube 700 subscriber special. And yeah, we'll just do a great big hangout. I missed doing my 500 subscriber special, so we'll make it up with 700, and we'll have some fun. We'll do a fun night. I've got some ideas for a great time, and as always, everything that you guys do, your memberships, your super chats, your purchasing something from the merch store, all of that is extremely helpful. I cannot thank you all enough. So, again, it's never required, but it is always appreciated. Hey, what's up, Levy? Dropping in to say hi. Always good to see you there, bud. And we've got Murph's Turf in the chat. Good to see you, Murph's Turf. We got a fun one for you tonight. So, figured I'd share that little bit of good news for you. So we are inching closer. I'm thinking if we pull out all the stops and all of y'all keep sharing out my content and trying to help kind of spread the word of my channel, I'm pretty sure we can hit 1,000 before the first of the year, which I would be absolutely blown away by. So extremely, extremely happy to share that with you guys. It's a great time. And oh, good. There we are. Traveling Fools in the chat. Yo, yo, yo. How you doing, buddy? Awesome to see you. Ooh, Murph's Turf saying, I got my pineapple tank top. Awesome. I'm hoping that it works out, that it looks good. Because I've been trying to put some effort into this, making some cool stuff, and I've got more more stuff on the way. I know I'm kind of a tiny little tadpole in the pond, but I'm working as hard as I can, and you guys are awesome. I am super ecstatic that all of you are here, and I love the fact that all of you are hanging out with me. All right. That's enough of that. We're 20 minutes in. Everybody's filed in. We are ready to get into tonight's topic. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. This is a weird one. So, as I mentioned, kind of setting the stage, this is a topic that hits close to home for me. And yeah, when I say that, I mean, yeah, it is actually close to home. So this is the story of probably one of the most high-profile paranormal cases in the modern era. This is the rather strange and just almost unbelievable story of the exorcism of Latoya Ammons. Now, pause on that. We'll kind of get in here and we'll explain a little bit more, try and help kind of ease everybody into this. So, this story takes place in Gary, Indiana. So, actually not too far of a drive from home base here. Now, it's about over an hour's drive, but at least a couple hours drive, but we're in the same state. And there's so much really odd about this story that it just deserves to get a lot more attention than it does. Gigi says, and me too, in a different way. Yep, know what you're talking about. Murph's Turf, I can't do exorcisms. Well, the good news is, I have a very strict policy regarding, that kind of content, because I will talk about the case. I will talk about what's going on. I will look into everything as much as I can, and I will provide you with as much of the evidence as I have. But I draw a very specific line in the sand at playing videos or audio of the actual exorcism in progress or anything like that. So the reason I do that is because from my time actually running and doing paranormal investigating a long time ago, anything that has to do with these things, and especially with at recordings or whatnot, it can open doorways. And obviously, to not only just protect myself, but protect you guys, I have a very specific policy on not playing any of the audio or video from those. But I will say, there's a lot here where it concerns a lot of, like, the actual, like, the other evidence, like a lot of what we're going to be talking about tonight. So I will tell you, that now, so that way you kind of know where I'm coming from on this. But yeah, that's the way it is. And hey, to Deadshot Gaming, hello for everyone. Awesome, good to see you there. Let's say Murph says the Jackson family is from Gary. Yes, actually. All right, and Short Order Cook 1. Hello, Kaiser Pineapple and everyone. Good to see you, Short Order Cook. And yes, Short Order, I am going to be trying to remind myself. I'm terrible with all that. I'm going to be trying to remind myself to get in contact with you about the email from a while back. I know that's been a while. It's been on the back burner, but I do still have it. Anything that you guys do send me, I do take seriously, and I do want to make sure that I give it its proper due. So I just want to let you know about that. I have not forgotten. Jude Curious says, you want ghosts? I know Haunted Archer Avenue. Ooh, that's cool. Traveling Fool says, dig the Blade Runner poster. Yes. I've got my poster wall back here. So Blade Runner, Indiana Jones, Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, and Die Hard. Kind of hard to see the other two, but yeah. And eventually I'm going to be rotating these out with other of my favorite movies as things go on. Sherry Reed, this is my favorite type of spooky. I don't know if I believe in it, but I find it interesting. Well, by the end of tonight's video, I may convert you to a believer. And let's see here. Okay, awesome. Good to go. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and play a little video. It's only about 3 minutes long, and it is actually, strangely enough, from Inside Edition. Hey, Winning Surreality. Good to see you there, bud. Hey, everybody. So, all right. Let's go on. Strangely enough, this ended up actually getting picked up by Inside Edition of all the shows to actually do it. But here it is. And there. Try and make it so that way. Okay. Yeah. I'm trying some different layouts here. There we go. That's better. And as usual, kind of make a few adjustments here.
It's your first look inside the house known as the Portal to Hell, a place where demons supposedly wrought havoc with a helpless family in horror straight out of The Exorcist.
That the power of Christ compels you!
This man just bought the notorious house in Gary, Indiana for the bargain basement price of $35,000.
What compelled you to buy this house?
I have a passion for investigating claims of paranormal.
Zach Baggins.
Yeah, this is Zach Baggins. If you don't know who Zach Baggins is, he's the guy who runs he's the face of the Ghost Adventures TV show, which, look, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I believe that guy about as much as I believe our government where it concerns, any of his supposed claims. But there's some weird twists to this one. There's a weird twist. So I will, we'll talk about it, but yeah. Oh, Zach. Hey, Winning. So my brother just here. That guy's nuts. Yeah, Zach Baggins' Ghost Adventures. Nah. Yep, his show is stupid. Wholeheartedly agree. Hey, Ghost, where you at, bro? Come talk to me. Yeah. Trust me, I do not like this guy's stuff at all, but there, again, like I said, there's a weird twist to the story, and we'll get into it.
Baggins is the host of the Travel Channel's Ghost Adventures. We spoke inside the front porch, the precise spot where a terrorized mom claims that horseflies mysteriously swarmed in the dead of winter, as they did in the Amityville Horror. Then there was that mysterious figure that appeared in the window when the house was supposed to be empty. This is the other side of that window.
There are reports that there was a residue that would come down the blinds.
It was horrible.
This is the woman who lived in the House of Horrors with her 3 children before Zach Bagans bought it. Latoya Ammons fought back tears when she told us how they fled in terror after her daughter was raised right off her bed. She says the demons sounded like this.
We've waited 5 months. It sounded like something dead.
She says she anointed the rooms with holy oil and read aloud from the Bible, but the nightmare went on and listened to a sound that cannot be explained by police who serious goings on.
Yeah, I'm just muting that. Yeah.
What
okay,
Latoya says happened to her son when she and her mom took him to the hospital. It's right out of the movie Poltergeist.
He walked up the wall and did the backwards flip.
How did everybody in the hospital react to your son walking up the wall?
They took off and they ran. The doctor from the psych ward said that's not real. That's not human. No human can do that.
Okay. Slight pause there. Yeah, what she just said. At a psychiatric hospital, her son, who was allegedly possessed at one point, apparently in front of as we'll find out, a CPS worker, a police officer, and a doctor, as well as the family. This kid, his eyes rolled back in his head, and he began to growl and started walking up the wall backwards. The fuck was that? Yeah.
Speaking of deep, mysterious voices,
You in there.
those are the chilling words Captain Charles Austin will never forget. The 36-year veteran of the Gary, Indiana Police Department had just finished investigating strange occurrences in the house and was in his patrol car talking on the phone when he says something bizarre happened.
All of a sudden, while I'm involved in this conversation, the AM/FM radio went to static and turned up very loud. And it said, "You in there." And the person on the phone say, "What the hell was that?" And I say, "I don't know."
What was your reaction?
I was in shock.
Enter Father Michael Maginot, a local priest who got permission from the Bishop of Gary, Indiana, to perform an exorcism on Latoya.
Did you at one point believe this house was the portal to hell?
There was a portal.
Latoya moved out of the house and now lives many miles away. She knows her story is hard to believe.
Some people claim that you made this all up, that this was some sort of an elaborate hoax. Is this a hoax?
No, I don't feel that someone will have a reason to make something up like that.
Do you believe that house is possessed by demons?
I do. I feel that there's something very bad going on in that house.
All right, that was the story. It was on Inside Edition back 4 years ago on October 23rd, 2018. And in 2014, Inside Edition was given unprecedented access to the home considered by locals in Gary, Indiana as, quote, the portal to hell, unquote. So, that is where we begin tonight's story. So, kind of to give you guys a little bit of information here. So, this house, apparently, as far as I've been able to really kind of dig in on this, there's really nothing supposedly odd that went on with the house, like with its original tenants, owners, etc., as far as anybody knows. Now, it was apparently at the time a rental house, which is, where Latoya and her family moved in. It was a rental. Nothing has ever been really divulged that I can really say, that I can find anyway, about who she rented the house from, the previous tenants, any of that information. But there's so much to this story that just makes you wonder what's really going on. All right. And to give you an idea of just how odd the story is, it got picked up by one of the largest actual newspapers in the region, the Indianapolis Star, which at one time I almost had a job with. Don't even get me started on that. That was a long time ago, and yeah, it never went anywhere. But, all right, so here we go. Let's get into the story, and we'll talk about this. So this is an actual article from the Indianapolis Star. There we go. Get myself back up there. And American Steve, good to see you there, buddy. Evening, everyone. Fallstorm, why did the diocese say he's not allowed to perform exorcisms? Yeah, that's information that I have not yet been able to really uncover. But apparently he did get permission. Look, it's the Catholic Church. They don't do anything anything too public, let's just put it that way, where it concerns these types of things. They try to keep that hush hush. But apparently he got permission from the Bishop of Gary, Indiana, to perform it. Anyway, so Indianapolis Star, this was published at 10:58 a.m. Eastern Time on January 15th, 2014. All right. A woman and 3 children who claim to be possessed by demons, a 9-year-old boy walking up a wall backwards in the presence of a family case manager and a hospital nurse. Gary Police Captain Charles Austin said it was the strangest story he'd ever heard. Austin, a 36-year veteran of the Gary Police Department, said he initially thought Indianapolis resident Latoya Ammons and her family concocted an elaborate tale and was a way to make money. But after several visits to their home and interviews with the witnesses, Austin said simply, "I am a believer." Let me make this a little bit bigger. There we go. Embiggen it. Not everyone involved with the family was inclined to believe its incredible story, and many readers will find Ammons' supernatural claims impossible to accept. But whatever the case, or whatever the cause of the creepy occurrences that befell the family, whether they were seized by a systematic delusion or demonic possession, it led to one of the most unusual cases ever handled by the Department of Child Services. Many of the events are detailed in nearly 800 pages of official records obtained by the Indianapolis Star and recounted in more than a dozen interviews with police, DCS personnel, psychologists, family members, and the Catholic priest. Excuse me.
What? What the fuck?
Yeah. When in reality says, must be an Indian burial ground. It sounds like something straight out of the movie Poltergeist. I'm telling you, man. It's crazy. All right. Ammons, who swears by her story, has been unusually open. While she spoke on condition that her children not be interviewed or named, she signed releases letting the Star review medical, psychological, and official records that are not open to the public and not always flattering. Furthermore, the family story is made only more bizarre because it involves a DCS intervention, a string of psychological evaluations, a police investigation, and ultimately a series of exorcisms. It's a tale, they say, that starts with flies. It's not normal. In November 2011, Ammons' family moved into the rental house on Carolina Street in Gary, a quiet lane lined with small one-story homes. Big black flies suddenly swarmed their screened-in porch in December despite the winter chill. Quote, "This is not normal," unquote. Ammons' mother, Rosa Campbell, remembers thinking, quote, "We killed them and killed them and killed them, and they kept coming back," unquote. There were other strange happenings too. After midnight, Campbell and Ammons both said they occasionally heard the steady clump of footsteps climbing the basement stairs and the creak of the door opening between the basement and kitchen. No one was there. Even after they locked the door, the noise continued. Campbell said she awoke one night and saw a shadowy figure of a man pacing her living room. She leaped out of bed to investigate and found large, wet boot prints. In March 10th, 2012, Campbell said the family's unease turned to fear. 12-year-old levitates. It was about 2 a.m. Normally, Campbell, Ammons, and her children would have been asleep, but they were mourning the death of a loved one with a group of friends. Ammons, who was in Campbell's bedroom, startled everyone by screaming, "Mama, Mama." Campbell said she ran into her bedroom where her then 12-year-old granddaughter and a friend were staying. Ammons and Campbell said the 12-year-old was levitating above the bed unconscious. According to their account of events, Ammons and several others surrounded the girl praying. Campbell said she remembers being terrified. Quote, "I thought, what's going on?" Campbell said. "Why is this happening?" Unquote. Eventually, Campbell said her granddaughter descended onto the bed. The girl woke up with no memory of what happened, Campbell said. Campbell and Ammons said people who were visiting that night refused to return. All right, now, real quick, let's just say that, let's see, American Steve says, as long as none of them say, quote, "we are Legion," I think so his souls be fine. Yeah, here's hoping. Anyway, so let's definitely take a moment and kind of say this much. Now, whatever you want to say, despite whatever information that they are providing here, this is definitely just an eyewitness account. Now, despite the fact that apparently it was witnessed by multiple people, there are no quotes by those other people that were allegedly there, other than Campbell and Ammons. And let's be honest, again, it's a personal story. It is a, it's a, I guess you could say it's a personal sighting. That's not backed up by evidence. That's not anything that can be really. I mean, it's an eyewitness account. They could be very interesting, could be very compelling, but ultimately it's an eyewitness account. It's not considered really evidence in this particular type of case. So, possessed by demons. Campbell said she remembers telling her daughter, quote, "We need help. We need to talk to someone who knows how to deal with it," unquote. Campbell and Ammons said they didn't know exactly what it was, but they believed it was something supernatural. They called local churches, but most refused to listen. American Steve says the joke twist turns out it's a new filming reality TV filled with illusionists. Who knows, man? Okay, eventually, after listening to Campbell and Ammons talk about the house and visiting it, officials at one church told them the Carolina Street house had spirits in it. They recommended the family clean the home with bleach and ammonia, then use oil to draw crosses on every door and window. At the church's suggestion, Ammons said that she poured olive oil on her 3 children's hands and feet, then smeared oil in the shape of crosses on their foreheads. Campbell and Ammons also told the Star they reached out to 2 clairvoyants who said the family's home was besieged by more than 200 demons. Their explanation made sense to Campbell and Ammons, they say, because it meshed with their Christian faith. Okay, again, not evidence, but it's an interesting story. The best thing you can do is move, Ammons remembers the clairvoyants telling her, but moving wasn't an option for the cash-strapped family. Not to mention, based on my own personal understanding and what experience I have in the field of paranormal investigation, moving is not always necessarily the prudent move. And the reason behind that is that sometimes things can attach themselves to you. They can follow you. They can attach themselves to an object. And then you move and suddenly everything starts right back up. All right. So instead, Ammons said she took a clairvoyant's advice and made an altar in the basement. Ammons covered an end table with a white sheet and then placed a white candle and statue of Mary, Joseph, and Jesus on it. She opened the Bible to Psalm 91. She said she and another person donned white t-shirts and wound white scarves around their heads. Also, on a clairvoyant's advice, they burned sage and sulfur throughout the house, starting upstairs and working their way down. The smoke was so thick they could hardly breathe. Ammons drew a cross with the smoke. The person she was with read Psalm 91 loud as they moved through the house. And Psalm 91 says, quote, You will not fear the horror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, nor the plague that destroys at midday, unquote. Ammons said nothing odd happened for 3 days, then things got worse. The family said demons possessed Ammons and her children, then ages 7, 9, and 12. The kids' eyes bulged, evil smiles crossed their faces, and their voices deepened every time it happened, Campbell and Ammons said. Campbell said the demons didn't affect her because she was born with protection from evil. Okay, I have questions. She said she and others like her have a guardian who protects them. Ammons said she felt weak, lightheaded, and warm when she was possessed. Her body shook, and she said she felt out of control. Quote, you can tell it's different, something supernatural, unquote. The youngest boy, 7, sat in a closet talking to a boy that no one else could see. The other boy was describing what it felt like to be killed. Campbell said the 7-year-old once flew out of the bathroom as if he'd been thrown, and a headboard once smacked into Ammons' daughter, causing a wound that needed stitches. The 12-year-old would later tell mental health professionals that she sometimes felt as if she were being choked and held down, and she couldn't speak or move. She said she heard a voice say she'd never see her family again and wouldn't live another 20 minutes. Some nights were so bad the family slept at a hotel. Finally, in desperation, they went to the family physician, Dr. Joffrey, Onyoku. I apologize. I'm not really going to be able to read that one very well. Onewuku? Okay. On November 19th, 2012, Ammons said she told him what they were going through, hoping he might understand. Onwuyuku said to the Star, it was, quote, bizarre. Well, I mean, imagine. You go in to see a doctor, and the patient tells you about, this. I mean, yikes. Yep, Gigi says, these things can follow. Yep. American Steve, I can only hope. I've already dealt with the shadowy individual in my childhood bedroom. Mom threw around some holy water shortly after and haven't seen it since. Yikes, man. That's crazy. Jude Cura says, look for the portal. Well, they do just that later on. All right. Quote, 20 years and I've never heard anything like that in my life, he said. Quote, I was scared myself when I walked into the room. He said he would not speak in more details unless Ammon had, quote, psychiatric clearance for the waiver of confidentiality she had signed. In his medical notes, it was about the visit, Onwuyuku wrote, quote, delusions of ghost in home and hallucinations. He also wrote history of ghost in home and delusional. What Ammons and Campbell say happened next also was detailed in a CPS or a DCS report of the family case manager's interview with medical staff. Chaos erupted. Say, yeah. He walked up the wall, flipped over her, and stood there. This is where we get into the alleged story of what happened with the boy. Campbell said Ammons' son cursed Onwuyuku in demonic voices, raging at him. Medical staff said the youngest boy was, quote, lifted and thrown into a wall with nobody touching him, according to a DCS report. This is where we get into some really interesting information here. According to a DCS report. Now, these are usually not people that these are usually not the kind of people that indulge in such oddities or fantasy. These people are usually there to do a job, which usually is involving making sure that, in a perfect world that, kids are taken care of and whatnot. But if they're saying something's weird, that might actually be a clue. The boys abruptly passed out and wouldn't come to, Campbell added. She cradled one boy in her arms. Ammons held the other. Someone from the doctor's office called 911. Onwuyuku said 7 or 8 police officers and multiple ambulances showed up. Quote, everybody was They couldn't figure out exactly what was happening, he recalled. Police and emergency personnel took the boys to Methodist Hospital's campus in Gary. Ammons said the hospital personnel laughed at her desire to anoint her sons in olive oil. Quote, "I couldn't talk to them," she said, "so I talked to God," unquote. The boys woke up in the hospital. The older boy, then 9, acted rationally, but the youngest screamed and thrashed, Campbell said. She said it took 5 men to hold him down. Let's see here. American Steve says, "I do wonder how CPS might handle possessions or hauntings." It does make you wonder. Meanwhile, someone at DCS called and asked an agency to investigate Ammons for possible child abuse or neglect. The caller, who was not named in the DCS report, speculated that Ammons might have a mental illness. The person believed the children were performing for Ammons and she was encouraging their behavior. Checking something real quick. Oh, wonderful. So, DCS Family Case Manager Valerie Washington was asked to handle the initial investigation. She gave the following account to police and in her intake officer's report. The hospital personnel examined Ammons and her children and found them to be healthy and free of marks or bruises. A hospital psychiatrist evaluated Ammons and determined she was of sound mind. Washington interviewed the family in the hospital. When she spoke with Ammons, the 7-year-old boy started growling with his teeth showing. His eyes rolled back in his head. The boy locked his hands around the older brother's throat and refused to let go until adults pried his hands open. Later that evening, Washington and registered nurse Willie Lee Walker brought the 2 boys into a small exam room for an interview. Campbell joined them. The 7-year-old started as he stared into his brother's eyes and began to growl again. Quote, "It's time to die," the boy said in a deep, unnatural voice. "I will kill you." Yikes, that's scary. FYI, YouTube, I'm just reading the quote here. I'm not actually saying anything untoward. I'm just reading the quote. While the youngest boy spoke, the older brother started headbutting Campbell in the stomach. Campbell grabbed her grandson's hands and started praying. What happened next would rattle the witnesses, and to some of it would offer not only evidence but proof of paranormal activity. According to Washington's original DCS report, an account corroborated by Walker, the nurse, the 9-year-old had a weird grin and walked backward up a wall to the ceiling. He then flipped over Campbell, landed on his feet. He never let go of his grandmother's hand. He walked up the wall, flipped over her head, and stood there, Walker said to the Star. Quote, "There's no way he could have done that." That's interesting. Hey, what's going on, Cool Frog? Good to see you. According to, let's see here. Say later, police asked Washington whether the boy had run up the wall as though performing an acrobatic trick. No, Washington told them. She said the boy, quote, glided backward on the floor, wall, and ceiling, according to the police report. Speaking of which, I happen to have here the DCS complaint. Yes, the original DCS complaint that was filed with this particular case. So, dive into it, shall we? All right. So, now, having lived in this state long enough, I can definitely tell you this is an official document. This is the state seal, and Department of Child Services preliminary report of alleged child abuse and neglect. I have a family member who is a social worker, and I was kind of able to get a little bit of clarification that, yeah, this is a real form. So, yeah, and it is State Form 114 R7/801 CW 0310, which you can actually look up. All right, and this is dated April 20th, 2012. Let's say family surname Ammons, Lake County. Now, they have redacted, obviously, the information that is covered by HIPAA. So, yeah, just letting you know. Gigi, we're both vaping, lol. Yeah, I only just recently picked this up, and I'm just trying to use it to kind of help get my recent nicotine cravings under control, hoping that I don't actually have to get another one, but yeah, we'll see. It has been helping with the stress, I'll say that. Anyway. So parent name, Ammons Latoya. Role, quote, perpetrator. Again, they thought she was the one encouraging this. Gives her the information. And then they do give the names of the children in a report, but those are redacted to protect the children's information, etc. So is child in imminent danger of serious bodily harm? No. Let's say child age 7, child age 9, and child unknown 11 live with their mother, Latoya Ammons, at, address, Gary, Indiana, Lake County. RS states that the children were at their primary care physician's office and he sent them to the ER. RS states the mother has reported that there are demons in the home and they are attacking the children. RS states that the mother reported that the children fight one another and are abusive to one another and they pass out. RS states blank reported that there are ghosts in the home, thousands of them, that he can see them. RS states blank reported that they don't talk to him, but after the mother tells blank that he can tell the medical professionals the truth, he later says yes. RS states blank reported that one demon told him that they were going to hell and he wasn't going to God. That's terrifying as hell, literally. Was not intending a joke there, but there it is. RS states that they believe that about a month ago, everything was relatively normal. RS states that the family recently moved, but were unaware of where they moved from. So RS states within the last month, it started with one child acting out and fighting, and then it was with all the children being very violent with each other in the public, but especially with the mother present. Okay. American Steve says imminent harm. The demon might have other ideas, but who knows? Maybe it just. Oh yeah, sure. Trust me, there's one thing I have learned in my experience is you don't mess with these things. Gigi says children are actually more sensitive to these things and are more often attacked. Yes. All right, real quick there, checking on things. Okay, we are doing excellent on likes, and things seem to be going all right over there. And say to anybody over there on Rumble, I say I don't see. And it's like I do have the Rumble chat pulled up. I don't see anybody's commented over there, but hey, feel free to join the conversation. You're welcome to, and we always appreciate it. We like having more voices in here and not just me talking to camera, but hey, it is what it is. All right. RS states they believe the mother may have mental health concerns. RS states that they believe the children are performing for the mother and that she's encouraging the behavior. RS states the children are in the hospital at the time and haven't been in the hospital for longer than 30 minutes. RS reports that they are unaware of information regarding worker safety concerns in the home. The below information is information received after the report and reviewed by this intake specialist. Indicate the following DCS household history. Yeah. So it looks like there was a previous charge, as like a previous. I'm trying to figure out exactly how to say it there, but essentially some kind of like previous alleged educational neglect on 3/15/09, recommending for assessment. See SDM attachment. IS contacted Lake County and informed Valerie Washington of this report. A copy of this report will be sent to Valerie Washington and FCMS Amber Davila upon approval. Recommendation given to RS. Completed by, and gives name, date 4/19/2012. Title Family Case Manager 2 DCS. And decision investigate. So DCS definitely did take this investigation seriously and wanted to make sure they got to the bottom of whatever was going on. All right. Ms. K. Griff says, I've mentioned my Tot's, quote, friend in her room before, so I totally believe this. Yeah, that always terrifies the heck out of me. All right. So, I do want to also make mention that we do actually have another DCS report here. So this is actually the intake officer's report of preliminary investigation, inquiry and investigation. So this is the actual report from Valerie Washington about the case. We will cover that in a little bit, but I do want to get back to the story a little bit here and kind of keep reading on through the article. All right. Washington did not respond to the Star's request for comment. I think that her official report should say as much as we need. But she told police she was scared when it happened and ran out of the room. Yeah, she was one of the people that witnessed this happen. As for Walker, Washington said, quote, he ran out of the room with me, unquote. So, quote, we didn't know what was going on, unquote. Walker told the Star, quote, it was crazy. I was like, everybody got to go, unquote. Just, yeah, that sounds actually, I'm going to be honest with you, vernacular and stuff included, that sounds pretty legit. And let's see here. I did see a recent question just came in. Sherry Reed says, so why do you think children are more susceptible to this? There's been a lot of questions to that effect. I mean, there's obviously no definitive answer, but what a lot of people seem to kind of believe is that because children do not have a lot of the preconceived biases that adults have, their minds are, I guess you could say, more open. They tend to be able to see and perceive things allegedly that adults just can't, because a lot of, as adults, we kind of gain that more skeptical mind, that skeptical approach. So again, that's just a hypothesis, or really a theory. It's not really anything solid, but it seems to be kind of, based on information that others have gathered, it seems to be kind of the general MO. All right, so according to Washington's report, they told a doctor what happened. The doctor, who did not believe them, asked the boy to walk up the wall again. Walker said he told the doctor he doubted the boy could repeat the feat. Quote, this kid was not himself when he did that, Walker said. The boy said he didn't remember what happened and couldn't do it, according to Washington's report. Walker, who said he previously believed in demons and spirits, thought the boy's behavior had, quote, some demonic spirit to it, unquote, but was also the result of a mental illness. A police report quoted Washington saying that she believed there could be an evil influence affecting the family. Jude Curious says the evil one likes innocent and defenseless children. Yep. Separated. Ammons said she spent the night in the hospital with her 7-year-old son, while Campbell took Ammons' daughter and older son to a relative's home in Gary. The next day, Ammons' youngest son's 8th birthday, Ammons said DCS officials asked Campbell to bring the older children back to the hospital, presumably to talk more about what happened. The family celebrated the boy's birthday by singing and eating a miniature cake. Then Ammons and said Washington told them the children wouldn't be going home. DCS took the emergency step of taking custody of the children without a court order. Quote, all the children were experiencing spiritual and emotional distress, Washington wrote in the DCS form. Ammons told the Star she and her children cried because they didn't want to be separated. Quote, we had already been through so much and fought so hard for our lives, she recalled. It was obvious we were a team and we were beating it. Whatever we were fighting, we made it through together as a team, and they separated us, unquote. Unquote, it must be scared of me. This here, I'm going to save that for later. That is the alleged photo of a figure in the window in the house when it was supposed to be completely empty. The Reverend Michael Maginot was leading Bible study in his living room the morning of April 20th, 2012, when he received a call from a hospital chaplain. Maginot claimed that, Maginot had been the priest at St. Stephen Martyr Parish in Maryville for more than 10 years, but had never received a request like this one. Maryville, I know where that's at. The chaplain asked him to perform an exorcism on Ammons' 9-year-old son. Maginot agreed to interview the family after Sunday Mass a few days later. The first step, Maginot said, was ruling out natural causes for what Ammons and her family said they had been experiencing. He visited Ammons and Campbell in the Carolina Street home on April 22nd, 2012. For 2 hours, Ammons and Campbell detailed the phenomenon for him. Then Campbell interrupted the interview at one point to point out a flickering bathroom light. The flickering stopped each time Maginot walked over to investigate, which he attributed to demonic presence. Quote, it must be scared of me, unquote, he later told the Star he had thought. Let's see here. Gigi says, personal opinion, children are most recently came from heaven and they're more spiritually intuitive than adults. Children and animals seem to be able to even judge people better than adults. You're not entirely wrong. Kids do tend to be a little bit more blunt. Yeah. There's kids have a really weird sense about them. I don't really know what else to say. As dad to a 3-year-old myself, it is worth noting that sometimes they do weird things that just kind of defy understanding. I've got a personal story that actually just happened this year with, it was me, my son, and my dad. And boy, howdy, it left us all going, what the heck? Maybe another time. Let's keep going with the story. Trey Reed, I forgot about animals being able to see things. Yep. And looks like this is actually a new person that's jumped into the chat. Olsons know everything. My bum ex used to use our son as a prop to further his failing YouTube channel. I left his ass in the cold. Never use children. Abso-freaking-lutely. Always protect kids. Winning Reality says children are innocent, love, and light. People who abuse them are the very worst amongst us. Freaking absolutely. Just dead on there. If there's one group of people in this world we should be protecting, it is kids. Period. Let them grow up. Let them have their time. Let them have their innocence. That's one of the big reasons why I have so many problems with some people on a particular political aisles. They want to keep trying to take innocence away from kids. No, I don't accept that, and I think it's evil, it's awful, it's disgusting. Always err on the side of protecting kids. Just sorry, dad vibes came out. Jude says, children are the ones that can get into heaven. What a prize for the other side. All right, continuing on here. Let's see. Nope, I saw, yeah, Gigi, yeah, 100% on the children. Yep. The interview was interrupted again when Campbell pointed out Venetian blinds in the kitchen swinging even though there was no air current. Maginot said he also saw wet footprints throughout the living room. Ammons complained about having a headache. Maginot said she convulsed when he placed a crucifix against her head. After a 4-hour interview, Maginot said he was convinced the family was being tormented by demons. He said he also believed that there were ghosts in the house. Maginot blessed the house before he left, praying, reading from the Bible, and sprinkling holy water in each room. He told Ammons and Campbell to leave because it wasn't safe. They temporarily moved in with a relative. Gary police captain starts to believe. All right. And yep, Ms. K. Griff says, welcome, Olsons know everything. Ms. K. Griff, I want a ghost that does laundry. Boy, having somebody else to do the laundry would be great, but I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't care how benign the spirit is. I don't want it in my house. Personal experience there. American Steve says, children are one thing that can melt hearts of stone and bring light into the darkness. Abso-freaking-lutely. Yes. All right. Okay. But less than a week later, the two women were back on Carolina Street to let Washington, the DCS family case manager, check the condition of the home. Washington asked a Lake County police officer to come with her. Two other officers, one each from Gary and Hammond police departments, I know where Hammond is too, asked to join them out of, quote, professional curiosity. Ammons refused to go inside, but Campbell agreed to accompany the group. Ammons' kids were still in DCS custody. The main floor had 3 bedrooms, a living room, 1 bathroom, hardwood floors, and a small open-style kitchen. A door in the kitchen led to a basement with concrete floors. Directly under the stairs was a dirt floor. The concrete around it was jagged as though it had been broken. The makeshift altar Ammons had created was still in place, along with rings of salt she had poured against the basement walls to, quote, dissuade the demons, unquote, according to a Hammond Police Department's report. So we also have the police report from the Hammond, Indiana police as well. Campbell told officers that demons seemed to emanate from beneath the stairs. Austin, the Gary police captain, was one of the officers. He later told the Star he believed in ghosts and the supernatural, but said he didn't believe in demons. Austin said he changed his mind after visiting the Carolina Street house. During the interview with Campbell, one of the officer's audio recorders malfunctioned. According to Austin and Hammond police records, the power light flashed to indicate the batteries were dying, even though the officer had placed fresh batteries in the recorder earlier that day. Another officer recorded audio, and when they played it back later, heard an unknown voice whisper, "Hey," according to the Lake County police records. There is a recording of that EVP. I'm not going to play it for obvious reasons, as I stated earlier. Audio, video of these types of events, I feel can open doorways, and out of protection for myself and for my audience, I don't mess with that stuff. I mean, if you want to go look for it, you do so at your own peril. That officer also took photos in the house. In one photo of the basement stairs, there was a cloudy white image in the upper right-hand corner. When an officer enlarged the photo, the cloud appeared to resemble a face, Lake County police records state. And just curious here. Yep, I do have the report. Excellent. The enlargement was also revealed a second green image that police say looked like a female. Austin said photos he snapped with his iPhone also seemed to have strange silhouettes in them. The radio in his police-issued Ford malfunctioned on the way home. Later, Austin said the garage at his Gary home refused to open even though the power was on everywhere else. Austin said the driver's seat in his personal 2005 Infiniti also started moving backwards and forward on its own. He said that he had the car checked at the dealership and the mechanic told him that the motor in the driver's seat was broken, which the mechanic said could have caused a distraction leading to an accident. Austin said he found himself starting to believe Ammons' claims of paranormal activity, but the mental health professionals evaluating Ammons and her children remained skeptical. Let's see. A paranormal dishwasher sounds nice. Yeah. Trust me, as much as I hate doing dishes. Ms. K-Griff says, don't forget to do the YouTube things, like, subscribe, comment, share, ring the bell for notifications. And as always, doing the midstream grift here, I just want to let everybody know that besides doing a like and subscribe, also use the pinned comment up yonder way, and feel free to go and check out all my socials in my link tree. So I'm on Rumble, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, as well as a few other places. And I've also got links in the link tree to both my merch store, and if you want to directly support the channel but you don't want YouTube to have a cut, I do have a Cash App there as well. It's not required at all. I'm never going to sit there and require that by any means. But anything I get is appreciated, and I definitely want to make sure I let you know that I appreciate it. All right. There we go. All right. American Steve says, don't tell me it's an undead camcorder. Gigi says, thank you for not playing it. Yep, better not. Yep, you have a little one to protect. Absolutely, I do. Jerry Reed, yeah, not looking for any paranormal experiences here. Let's keep those doors closed. Yeah. Even if you're a skeptic, I keep telling folks, don't go opening doors that you can't close. You might open a door and you may not be able to close it. DCS outlines case plan. In April 2012, DCS petitioned Lake Juvenile Court for temporary wardship of the 3 children. The request was granted. DCS found that Ammons neglected her children's education by not having them in school regularly. The agency made the same finding in 2009, its records show. Ammons told Washington there were 3 times she could not send the kids to school because, quote, the spirits would make them sick or they would be up all night without sleep, unquote. DCS temporarily placed the daughter and older son at St. Joseph Carmelite home in East Chicago. Ammons' youngest son was sent to Christian Haven in Wheatfield for a psychiatric evaluation. Clinical psychologist Stacy Wright, who evaluated Ammons' youngest son, said that the boy tended to act possessed when he was challenged, redirecting or asking questions he did not want to answer. In her evaluation, Wright wrote that he seemed coherent and logical except when he talked about the demons. All right. So, let's see. Yep, it was then that the 8-year-old's stories became bizarre, fragmented, and illogical, Wright said. His stories changed each time he told them. He also changed the subject, quizzing Wright on math problems and asking her about outer space. Quote, can you die if you go to space, unquote, he asked. How do you go to space? Do you have to wear a helmet and a suit? Wright believed the 8-year-old did not suffer from a true psychotic disorder. Quote, this appears to be an unfortunate and sad case of a child who has been induced into a delusional system perpetrated by his mother and potentially reinforced, unquote, by other relatives, she wrote in her psychological evaluation. Clinical psychologist Joel Schwartz, who evaluated Ammons' daughter and older son, came to similar conclusion. Quote, there also appears to be a need to assess the extent to which Ammons' daughter may have been unduly influenced by her mother's concerns, and the family was exposed to paranormal experiences, unquote, Schwartz wrote. Ammons' daughter told Schwartz that She saw shadowy figures in the Carolina Street home. She also said she twice went into trances. Ammons' older son told Schwartz that, quote, doors would slam and stuff started moving around, unquote. Ammons was also examined several times by psychologists who said she was, quote, guarded, but did not seem to be, quote, experiencing symptoms of psychosis or thought disorder. One psychologist recommended Ammons be assessed to, quote, determine whether her religiosity may be masking underlying delusional ideations or perceptual disturbances. Ammons and all three kids continued to insist they were possessed by demons. DCS set goals for the family. One of them stipulated that the children, quote, not discuss demons are being possessed and take responsibility for their actions, unquote. They also needed to participate in therapy and address past behavior. While DCS officials credited Ammons for sharing a close bond with her children, the agency also said she needed to use alternative forms of discipline not directly related to religion and demon possession, according to the DCS case plan. Appropriate discipline included encouragement, rules, and withholding privileges. She could work on those goals during supervised visits with the children. And Ammons also had to find a job and appropriate housing, quote, due to the paranormal activity, quote, at the house on Carolina Street. While Ammons worked on meeting those objectives, police and DCS officials continued to investigate strange happenings in the house. Winning Reality says, the barn that is in the new Exorcist movie is owned by friends of mine who are the parents of my son's girlfriend. They recently went to see it together. Then later, they reacted the chase scene. Oh, okay. Huh. Interesting. All right. Now, we're going to take a slight break from this. We're going to go and we're actually going to read through some of these documents. Yes, I realize these are probably going to be a little dry, a little dull, but this is going to give us a little bit more depth to what's going on here. So, state of Indiana in the matter of, yeah, and it gives all the, just kind of the basic information there. Current placement blank are living in the Carmelite home. Blank was placed at Christian Haven. Children alleged to be in need of services. Intake officers report in preliminary inquiry and investigation. Next hearing date, 24th day, April 2012. Have the children been removed from the home? Yes. Removal date, time, April 20th, 2012, 4:30 p.m. Prior to the removal, the children lived with Latoya Ammons, mother of, and then redacted. The children were taken into custody without a court order. Supporting facts relative to IC 313423 are included in taking custody of a child without verbal or written court order. Description of circumstances, State Form 49584/CW0018 attached specifically. Specifically, children are in need of services pursuant to IC 31341. See attached Section A. Children's physical or mental condition will be seriously impaired or seriously endangered if the children are not immediately taken into custody. See attachment form Section B1. Safety considerations for the children preclude the immediate use of family services to prevent removal of the children. See attachment Section B, 2, and 3. There is not a reasonable opportunity to obtain an order of the court. See attachment Section C. Probable cause. Date April 19th, 2011, 7:17 p.m. Location North Lake Methodist Hospital. Gives the address. A. Nature of report on 4/19/19 at 8:20 p.m. The Indiana Department of Child Services received a report stating that the following information from a report source. RS states that the children were in their primary care physician's office and he had sent them to the ER. RS states the mother had reported that there are demons in the home and that they are attacking the children. RS states the mother reported that the children fight one another, and abusive to one another, and then they pass out. RS states, redacted, reported that there are ghosts in the home, thousands of them. He can see them. Okay. This is pretty much what we've already read, but I'm going to power through this anyway because it's a different form here. RS states that redacted reported that they don't talk to him, and the mother tells redacted that he can't tell the medical professionals the truth. He later says yes. RS states redacted reported that one demon told him he was going to hell and he wasn't going to God. RS states they believe that a month ago everything was relatively normal. RS states that the family recently moved, but they are unaware of where they were moving from. RS states within the last month it started with one child acting out, fighting. Then it was all the children being very violent to each other in public, but especially with the mother present. RS states they believe that the mother may have mental health concerns. RS states they believe that the children are performing for the mother and that she's encouraging the behavior. RS states the children are in the hospital at this time and haven't been in the hospital for more than 30 minutes. Section B, facts and evidence on 4/19/12 at 8:45 p.m. FCM Washington conducted an assessment at Northlake Hospital regarding the Ammons family. FCM Washington interviewed Miss Latoya Ammons, redacted 9 years, redacted 12 years, redacted 7 years, and various medical staff. Medical staff stated that Ammons reported various stories regarding demons and spirits. Medical staff reported Miss Ammons reported that her home had various demons and evil spirits due to someone dying in the home. Little kernel of information there. Medical staff reported they observed the children and heard the 7-year-old making growling noises and his eyes rolled in the back of his head. Medical staff reported that while the children were at the primary doctor's office of medical staff, they observed redacted be lifted and thrown into a wall with nobody touching him. Gary Police Department then went into the home, and the home had multiple religious shrines, Bibles throughout the home, plenty of food. The home was clean. Medical staff reported ghost attacks, him and his brother. Mother has stated she has taken the children into various temples and churches to remove the demons. Medical staff stated redacted had a physical outburst, hitting and kicking the brother and grandmother. Mother placed the child in a gentle therapeutic hold, and the child became limp and was placed in the bed, but was difficult to arouse. Child stated he did not recall what happened. Social worker came into the room to evaluate Miss Ammons, and redacted eyes rolled to the back of his head and his teeth were exposed, and he began to growl. Redacted, 9 years old, stated that the ghosts were attacking him and his brother. Child became aggressive and walked up the wall as if he were walking on the floor, and he did a flip over the grandmother. The episode was witnessed by the psych counselor and DCS worker, FCM Washington. Okay. That's a little odd. This is an official report. This is an official DCS report, by the way. I don't know about you. That would definitely get my eyebrows in a raise. Let's see. Redacted 12 years reported that at times she had weird thoughts and unnatural events took place in the home during the evening time. She also reported being thrown across the room and grabbed by dark shadows a few nights ago and has a greenish bruise on the underside of wrist. Ms. Ammons requested help from her children. Ms. Ammons stated that she has lived in her home at redacted Carolina Street, Gary, November 2011 until now. December 2011 and January 2012, Ms. Ammons stated she noticed weird things in her children and herself. American Steve said he just wanted to be a gymnast. Jerry Reed, yes, my eyebrows are up. When in reality says, no father, huh? Apparently not, but hey, I'm just reading what's on the page. Let's see. Gigi says 3 professionals who aren't persuaded by wild stories. That is an important detail. 3 professionals who don't really, entertain this kind of stuff. Apparently just watched a kid His eyes roll back in his head, start growling, and then walk backwards up a wall. That's a little weird. Sherry Reed, this is interesting, but yeah, I'm a bit freaked out. I don't blame you. It's a weird story. There's a lot going on here. Miss Ammons stated that they had to go to bed by 8 p.m. because if they were awake at 11 p.m., the spirits would come out and keep them up all night, throwing things, moving things in the home. The house turns cold. The spirits touch the children and herself while in the house. North Lake Hospital said the family examined and found the children and mom to be healthy and free of any marks or bruises. A psychological evaluation was completed with Miss Ammons, and it was found that she was of sound mind. There were no concerns about the mental stability at this time by the hospital psychiatrist. Section C, parent, guardian, custodian response. On 4/19/2012 at North Lake Hospital ER, FCM Washington interviewed Miss Latoya Ammons regarding the allegations of the 310 report. Ms. Ammons stated all of the information reported to DCS was true, although people think she might be sounding crazy. They all happened to her family. Ms. Ammons reported trying to find various pastors, priests, bishops, and other spiritual officials to help her get the demons out of her children and her home. Ms. Ammons was discussing the event that led her family to the hospital this evening, and her 7-year-old son, redacted, started making noises such as growling when she would speak about the different churches she visited and call looking for help with the spirit, the demonic spirits in her children and her home. Redacted was on the other side of the curtain in another room, and she could hear his sounds. The more Miss Ammons discussed the churches and the advice she was given on how to kill, allegedly, again, just using the word that they use here, quote, kill the spirits in her son. How to kill the spirits, her son. Okay. That's a weird way to write that, but okay. That's the way it's written. Redacted got louder and louder, growling until a loud shuffle started in the room next door, and the Redacted shouted for her mother to come help. FCM and Miss Ammons went to the other room to find Redacted 9 years old, is in a headlock, choking him. Redacted's eyes were rolling in the back of his head, and he was growling, and his teeth were showing where he had held tight to his brother's throat. It took several staff to pry the hands open of Redacted to release Redacted. Afterwards, Redacted began to shake as he lay back down on the bed, and his facial expression changed. Later that evening, FCM Washington and psychologists and the family were in the room discussing placement for Redacted, 7 years. Redacted began to growl again and stare into Redacted's eyes, and Redacted's facial expression changed. Began to have a weird smile on his face, and he charged at his grandmother's stomach and head butted her several times until she grabbed his hands and started praying. Redacted was speaking in a different deep voice, saying, "It's time to die, I will kill you," and started again staring around the room. Yikes. And over here, Murph's Turf dropping 5 gifted memberships. Thank you so much, Murph's Turf. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much about that. I appreciate it. American Steve, yeah, Sherry, I felt like I needed to start reading something else and so I don't get freaked out. Greek myths has always been my attention now, while Kaiser has the other half. There you go. And over here, Lady Autumn Sky, Sea Soldier, Before I Go, Sadie, Miami Spice, and all got those gift memberships. Congratulations. Welcome to the Pineapple Crew. Thank you all so much for watching. I am extremely happy to have all of you here. And let's continue on. All right. And I see Murph's Turf with a 1 month. Yeah, what was it? Yeah. Yeah, member for 1 month. Like 1 month, can you believe it? And I am still beyond shocked that it happened. And now I'm realizing that it's been a month since I've been monetized. Cheers, y'all. Super excited. All right. Where did I leave off? FCM Washington and the psychologist left the room immediately and went to the attending doctor, Dr. Richardson, and told him what was just witnessed in the Ammons family room. Dr. Richardson did not believe it, and he also asked that if the child could perform this act again. The psychologist stated, "I doubt it. Seriously, this kid was not himself when he did that." Dr. Richardson, FCM Washington, and the other psychologist went back into the room to ask Redacted if he could walk back back up the wall again. Redacted stated, "I didn't walk up a wall. I can't walk up a wall," unquote. When he tried to walk up a wall again, he could not get his balance nor place his feet properly to walk up the wall. The children were removed from the mother's care to ensure their safety. Redacted was placed at Christian Haven after several attempts by hospital staff to have Redacted placed in a residential setting to obtain a psychiatric evaluation. Each facility denied his admission. Redacted were placed at the Carmelite home. Miss Ammons stated she was having a home blessed on Sunday by a priest named Father Michael from the Catholic Church in Maryville, Indiana. Miss Ammons stated she could not send the children to school sometimes because the spirits would make them sick, and they wound up being up all night without sleep, and they could not attend school. Sorry, indigestion. Miss Ammons admitted the children missed a lot of school. Section D, children's statement, see facts and evidence. Section E, other pertinent information. 4/19/12, Gary Police Department assessed the home at Redacted Carolina Street, Gary, Indiana. Medical staff reported that the children were at the primary doctor's office. The medical staff reported they observed Redacted being lifted and thrown into the wall with nobody touching him. Gary Police Department went to the home, and the home has multiple religious shrines, Bibles throughout the home, plenty of food, and was clean. Upon further investigation, it was found that the family has previous DCS history regarding educational neglect. Again, that's kind of what she mentioned there. All right. Said child is in need of services pursuant to IC 3134-1 in that, going through that information, essentially saying that they needed to be treated. All right. Now, let me see if there's any additional pertinent information to the story on that, because a lot, Okay, nothing there. So skip down here. All right, this is just the regular kind of boilerplate questions that they have to ask. So children's mental health. So physical health, special need accommodations, physical challenges, none. Child's mental health, diagnosis, prescribed medication, behavioral problems. That was the fighting and everything that they mentioned. All right, so there was, I guess, a bit of a custody battle. That was about it. But other than that, there's really nothing in their history that would suggest that there's any kind of history of this, or even any kind of possible lead up to this, which just makes it all the more weird. All right. Reasonable efforts and best interests. The safety of the children precludes the immediate use of family services to prevent removal of the children because, due to the nature of the allegations and the children's behavior while in the hospital, precluded the immediate use of service could not prevent removal of the children. It is in the best interest of the children to be removed from the home environment, and remaining in the home would be contrary to the health and welfare of the children because the children has not attended school on a regular basis. The mother cannot find help to assist the children. Recommendation and reasoning: filing of petition alleging that the children and this is the way it's written, folks, that the children are children in need of services. Out of home placement should be considered Carmelite home and Christian Haven until mother can seek suitable housing for her family. Indiana Department of Child Services recommends mother complete parenting evaluation. So that's where all of the information is there. Signed, dated, Valerie Washington, Family Case Manager, Indiana Department of Child Services, local office in Lake County, dated April 13th, 2012. All right. All right, so we're going to go back to the article here. All right. The group was a bit larger this time. Campbell, Ammons, Austin, the police captain, and 2 other police officers from the initial visit went back to the Carolina Street home on the afternoon of May 10th, 2012. The police officers visited after work hours. They were joined by Maginot, 2 Lake County officers with a police dog, and DCS family case manager Samantha Illick. So yeah, Father Maginot, 2 Lake County police officers, a police dog, and one of the family case managers were all there. Illick, who was there as in an official capacity, told the Star she volunteered to go in Washington's place because Washington didn't want to go back into the house. That's a very important detail. So, Ms. Washington, who had done the assessment, had allegedly watched this kid walk up a wall and all of that. She was so freaked out from what she had seen in the home, she did not want to go back in the house. Again, this is a professional, somebody who should be above this sort of thing, was so freaked out by what she saw that she left and did not want to go back in the house and sent somebody else in her stead. A county officer took his police dog around the home, but the dog didn't show interest in any particular area. According to Lake County police records, everyone else headed into the basement. Illick touched some strange liquid she saw dripping in the basement and said it felt slippery yet sticky between her fingers. Maginot told police he wanted to check the dirt under the stairs for a pentagram or personal objects that might have been cursed. He said a pentagram might indicate a demonic presence and possible portal to hell, according to the Lake County police report. Or if someone had died in the house and was buried under the stairs, it could explain paranormal activity, Maginot added. One of the police officers dug a 4-foot by 3-foot hole beneath the stairs, unearthing a pink press-on fingernail, a white pair of panties, a political t-shirt, a lid for a small cooking pan, socks with the bottoms cut off below the ankles, candy wrappers, and a heavy metal object that looked like a weight for a drapery cord, police records state. Finding nothing else, the officer replaced the dirt and raked over it. Maginot blessed some salt, which he said is a barrier to evil, and spread it under the stairs throughout the basement. Okay, have a great night there, Miss K. Griff. Let's say, and if you need anything, let us know. But hey, appreciate you hanging out. Gigi says, unless the mom had a psychotic break, these things do not jump to these levels of abuse out of the blue. Personal experience. Yep. Illick said she was later standing in the living room with the rest of the group when her left pinky finger started to tingle and whiten. She complained it felt broken. Less than 10 minutes later, Illich said she felt as if she was having a panic attack. She couldn't breathe, so she walked outside to wait for the group. When the priest started questioning Ammons inside the home, she complained of a headache and shoulder pain, according to police records. She joined Illich outside. Austin said he left the house at nightfall. Austin, who has been shot at and has investigated murders, rapes, and armed robberies during his more than 3 decades on the force, said he was staying in the house at past dark. Yeah, a 36-year veteran of the Gary, Indiana police force, a captain at that, no less, was in the home and was so freaked out he would not stay in the house past dark. Just saying. Have a great night there, Olsen twins. Olsens know everything. Bye. Okay. Merp Surf, I keep dipping out and back to reset my brain. I can handle going crazy, but yeah, spirit demons get me. Yep, I totally get it. America sees sometimes demons are a valid excuse. All right. The other officers continued to walk around the home on the main floor. They noticed an oil-like substance dripping from Venetian blinds in a bedroom, but couldn't figure out where it was coming from, the police records state. To make sure Campbell and Ammons hadn't poured oil on the blinds, 2 of the officers used paper towels to clean it off. The officers sealed the room for 25 minutes and stood nearby so no one could walk in. When they went back in, the oil had reappeared, according to police records. Maginot said told police the liquid was a manifestation of a paranormal or demonic presence. He wrote a report detailing his findings and asked Bishop Dale Melzick's permission to perform an exorcism on Ammons. And we actually do have the report seeking permission of Bishop for exorcism. Yep. I got it. It's in the article. All right. So let's take a little bit of a stroll here. And let's go through some of this. Okay. Let me take that off that screen. I've already read that. All right. And okay, so that one we've already read through. All right. Checking a couple of things here. All right. So here is actually part of the excerpt from the Hammond police report. Let's see here real quick. All right. Zoom in here. So this is actually one of the other pages. Is page 3 of 7 of the report. This is just an excerpt. I will see if I can find the full original document. Okay, nope. Let's see. I will see if I can find that, but yeah. Olsons know everything. Lowell Kaiser, you're so cute. I was saying goodbye to Miss K. Griff. I'm sticking around. Awesome. Well, glad to have you hanging around there. Say, at least somebody thinks that I'm allegedly cute. That's not something people say to me often for obvious reasons. All right. Sherry Reed, maybe I missed out, but did the children's behavior improve when placed in other homes? So I don't think it actually mentioned any of that, but there is actually another report here. It's actually the DCS case plan. Now, it doesn't actually mention anything like specific. It just mentions here that child is safe in those cases. Now, I'll kind of we'll go over it in a little bit, and I'll read through it. We'll see what we're dealing with. But allegedly, once the children were out of the basically out of the general area of the mom, they seemed to be okay, and especially if they were separated and away from the mom as well. It does raise some questions, I get. And as you'll find out later as we go through this, it seems like the mom might be the central part of this after all. We'll get into it. Sherry Reed, just wondering why an exorcism on mom and not kids. Trust me, like I said, we will get there. So, it's a house's white frame structure with an enclosed porch. It faces east in a residential industrial neighborhood, which is not easily accessible. On the inside, it is a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house with unfinished basement. The floors are made of hardwood, and there's a small open-style kitchen in the rear of the house, west end. The full-length basement has an L-shaped stairwell access through the kitchen. There's a door that separates the basement from the first level. In the basement, there are 2 separate rooms. The far southwest room contains a coal chute. In the large room, there was a makeshift small altar with religious statues, candles, and a Bible. In addition, there was salt poured in lines around the interior walls. Grandmother stated that they created the altar and poured the salt to dissuade demons. The stairs leading to the basement were wooden 6 stairs, and you could see the floor and walls behind them west. While the floor in most of the basement was made of poured concrete, the floor under the stairs was dirt. There was a jagged edge that ended at the dirt, and it appeared the floor under the stairs had been broken out. Also floor plan and video DVD of visit. They did record this. Aw, y'all are just absolutely, y'all are killing me. All right, kind of cute as a shame. He's not being told that more often. Thank you for the voice. Well, if y'all are ever interested and you want something a little bit of a palate cleanser after this, over on my good friend Shizzy Wiznut's channel, on Sunday we did a live stream reading some spicy AI generated stories, and between the lovely vocal soundings of Shizzy Wiznut, the Dictionary Diva, Feral Housewife, and myself, we read some stories and contributed all of our luscious vocal tones for your listening pleasure. Trust me, when I try, I can lay it on thick. Don't take that the wrong way. Yeah.
Phrasing.
Sorry. Throw a little bit of levity in there, I know. All right. There we go. Awesome. That's funny. I like it. After my cursory examination of the house, I returned to the first floor and redacted, and I spoke at length with the grandmother, taped cassette DVD interview, and DCFS Washington. Minutes into interview, my tape recorder began to malfunction. Although I had just replaced the batteries with a fresh set earlier that day, the power indicator light began flashing, denoting that the batteries were failing. The recorder went dead shortly thereafter. A few minutes later, I turned the recorder back on, and it functioned normally, and recorded in it for an additional 45 minutes. I have used it since to replay the 50-minute conversation without failure. Grandmother stated that shortly after the family moved into the house in November, strange occurrences began. One of the early incidences occurred when the grandmother was home alone watching evening television in front bedroom. She heard loud footsteps on the stairs and heard a door slam. All right, so here is an excerpt from the Lake County police report. They're talking about some of the evidence that they gathered and what they saw in the evidence they gathered. Now, not all of this I was able to get. I did try, but of course, some of that would have to be accessed with a FOIA or a something of that nature, and I don't really have that that kind of pull, to be completely honest, and I don't have that kind of time. Photograph shows a white cloud-like image in the upper right-hand corner of the photograph, just behind the third step leading up from the basement. The lower half of the image is cut off by the third step. It appears the image is just behind the third step in the photograph. When the image is enlarged, it resembles a face. When redacted, enlarge the photo of the basement stairs again. A second image was discovered just slightly to the left of the white cloud-like image in the photograph. The second image is green in color and it appears to be female. Several later attempts to explain these images were unsuccessful. An examination of the basement stairs located at redacted Carolina Street in Gary, Indiana did not reveal any discoloration or any explanation for the two images in the photograph. There is nothing on the west wall behind the basement stairs that would cause the two images to appear on the photograph. When redacted took the photo of the basement stairs, the only two people present in the basement were redacted and Captain Austin of the Gary Police Department. Several days later, redacted listened on the audio recording he made of the home visit located at Carolina Street in Gary, Indiana. At the 20-minute and 55-second mark on the recording, redacted took the photograph of the basement stairs. Redacted and Captain Austin were the only two present in the basement at this time on the audio recording. Redacted and Captain Austin were clearly heard on the recording. A third voice is present on the audio recording. The voice whispers, "Hey," or the unknown voice whispers, "Hey," into the digital voice recorder. The unknown voice was recorded using a Olympus digital voice recorder. Redacted routinely uses this device to record statements and telephone conversations. The device has never malfunctioned. Interesting little detail there. Y'all are killing me tonight. Come on. Gigi, since you don't get told you're cute very often, I'll say it too, and you're not only cute, but handsome. My hubby said so. My hubby is too hot, not... My hubby is too, so not hitting on you, and I'm old enough to be your mother. Gotcha. Understood. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right. On 4/30/2012 at approximately 12 p.m. or 12 o'clock, Redacted spoke with Father Michael Maginot. He is the pastor at St. Stephen the Martyr in Maryville, Indiana. Father Maginot stated that he met with Latoya Ammons and Rosie Campbell at Redacted Carolina Street in Gary, Indiana on 4/22/12. Father Maginot stayed at the residence between 18:30 and 22:30. Father Maginot stated that while he was speaking with Latoya Ammons and Rosie Campbell, the bathroom lights began to flicker off and on. When Father Maginot Father Maginot would walk into the bathroom, the light would stop flickering. As soon as he exited the bathroom, the light would begin flickering off and on. The flickering stopped when Father Maginot placed his crucifix on the light. Father Maginot also witnessed water run down the window blind in the middle of the bedroom. There was no source of the water. The blind cord moved in a side-to-side motion. The windows were closed, and there was no draft present in the residence. Father Maginot could not locate the source of the water. Father Maginot observed a wet boot-like footprint appear in front of him in the living room floor. The boot print was unlike any of the footwear the people inside the home. Latoya Ammons began to get a headache prior to Father Maginot leaving the residence. Latoya Ammons asked Father Maginot for a blessing. As Father Maginot performed a blessing on Latoya Ammons, she began to shake and lose her balance. Father Maginot stopped the blessing and told Latoya Ammons to leave the home and take some Tylenol. On 5/10/12 at approximately 1500, redacted of the Hammond Police Department, Captain Austin of the Garrison Police Department, and then it cuts off. All right, there we go. Sorry, just reading through chat there. All right. So let's check real quickly on the DCS case plan, and then we'll actually go to the request for permission for exorcism. Say permanency plan, reunification 10/17/12. Identity strengths, child brings to the plan. Redacted is a very intelligent child who enjoys school. Let me readjust there so we can see everything. Redacted is a very intelligent child who enjoys school, shares a close bond with her mother and younger brothers. Redacted is a talkative young lady who is very respectful to DCS and staff members. Redacted has good behavior in placement and gets along well with other children. Let's see. Redacted needs stable housing with her mother and brothers. Redacted needs to maintain her behavior while in placement and take responsibility for her actions. There's a whole section redacted. Mother needs to become self-sufficient and gain employment. Let's see. Caregiver, Ammons Latoya are. Identity strength caregiver brings to plan. Latoya has 3 children who are polite and respectful. Very important to note. There's the DCS plan is saying that separately interviewed, the kids are all very polite and respectful. Latoya has a history of seeking help for herself and the children. Latoya is seeking suitable housing for herself and the children. So this is actually a mom who is trying to do the best for her kids and take care of her kids. This is not somebody who seems to be really... This doesn't fit the profile of somebody who would be lying about this kind of thing. It's all... Look, I'm not saying she is or she isn't, but I am saying that... Yeah, my video ran out. Okay, reset. There we go. Fix. But this just doesn't seem... It doesn't really seem to fit. It's interesting. Because usually if you have a person that is a caregiver or whatnot that has a history of this kind of behavior, or not being good with their kids, or has any kind of other problems, when things like this are reported to DCS, usually there's a history to back it up. This woman had none of that. The only thing they could say was that she had at least a couple of times kept her kids out of school and they had missed some of the school. But even she explains that that was because whatever was in that house seemed to be terrorizing them. Let's see here. Olsons know everything. I feel bad for the kids. Where's the dad? Look, somebody else asked that question earlier, and I'm not saying anything, but, it seems that the kids were from multiple sources, if you catch my drift. Yeah, Jude Curio saying kids can't pretend that long. Yeah. Agree. They tend to lose interest really quick. All right. Okay, so apparently with regards to the dad redacted, they didn't give his name. He's not come forward for his children or has any contact with DCS in regards to this case. Well, there you go. All right, so objectives. All 3 children will complete an education plan. Barriers to achieving objectives. All children have issues with school attendance. Mother will ensure children attend school on a regular basis. Children will complete homework and assignments on time. Children will attend school on a regular basis with a limited number of absences and tardies. Say, mother will participate in court-ordered services. Barriers to achieving objective. Mother reports that it is the demons affecting the household and does not see a need for services. Okay. Mother will participate in clinical assessment and follow recommendations. Mother will participate in family therapy with her children. Mother will participate in supervised visitation with her children. Okay. Let's see here. All children report ghosts in the home and home is haunted. Children state they are possessed and that is the reason for their behaviors. Mother and children will work to improve relationship and work through issues from the past. Mother will utilize alternate forms of discipline not directly related to religion or demonic possession. Children will take person as a responsibility for behaviors and learn to appropriately convey anger feelings. Mother and children will not use possession as an excuse for children's behaviors. Mother will become more independent for herself and the children. This is all just their plan for what they are saying. So yeah, has child been placed in an institution, group home? Yes. Explain, child is safe. And that is the full readout for the plans. Yeah, that is sad for the kids. I mean, every kid deserves to have, a mom and a dad that are there for them, care for them, give them all the, love, respect, and attention that they need to become thriving members of society and also to just become good, well-rounded people. That I think is something that should be a universal truth in this world, is that there is kids need parents. And I know I'm going to rub some people the wrong way when I say this, but I strongly feel that kids need a mom and kids need a dad. Look, say what you will about the nuclear family, but I don't see I didn't see them having nearly the level of problems and whatnot that we see currently. Trust me, I mean, if I had my choice between how a lot of parents and kids seem to act today and living in, Beaver Cleaver land, I would take the Beaver Cleaver every time. I just realized how that sounded. Oh, God. Yep, Sherry Reed, both are very important, moms and dads. Yep, winning, love, 100%. Yep, absolutely. Gigi says, yeah, she didn't start abusing these kids with one of them being 11 or 12, but mom's fears definitely influenced their own fears and behaviors. I would agree. So everyone is telling mom how to raise kids. Don't hear any held back in school. Doesn't appear that way. No. American Steve. Now I'm thinking of the beaver scene in Naked Gun. I used to have that in my library of clips, but I had to take it out so I could make room for others. Gigi says kids with involved parents have statistically less problems in school and with authorities. Yep. Yeah. You teach your kids to understand and respect that there is something called an authority figure in the house, and they need to be willing and able to understand that. There seems to be a lack of discipline and rationality in the house. Yeah, I think I do kind of get a little bit of that vibe. Yeah. All right. Anyway. So we're getting to the really interesting part. Report seeking permission of bishop for exorcism. Winning says smart kids can pass school even with BS going on at home. Yeah. Yep, discipline and consistency. All right. On Friday morning, April 20th, 2012, in the midst of my weekly Bible study group, I received a call from Chaplain David Neville of Methodist Hospital. Since I was on call for Father Joseph Uko to come to the North Campus to perform an exorcism on a boy witnessed by many to be walking backwards up a wall. I told him that I would need the bishop's permission to do so, but that I was willing to conduct the necessary investigation. I gave him permission to pass my contact information to anyone interested in being involved. I arranged to meet with the mother and grandmother at the home they rented to bless it and investigate that Sunday evening, April 22nd at 6:30 p.m. Following Friday's incident, Child Protective Services became involved, and 2 of the 3 children were placed in foster care with the Carmelite Sisters in East Chicago, and the youngest boy was undergoing a psychological evaluation at another facility in Wheatfield, Indiana. American Steve, necromancy, not the typical way to raise a family or make some friends. Oof. Gigi says, even with divorced parents, if both parents make children priority, way less problems. Yep, 100%, and I agree there. Yeah. After I blessed the home at Carolina Street in Gary, I reviewed the mother, Latoya Ammons, redacted, and her mother, Rosa, redacted, who lived with them. The first time they noticed anything strange was shortly after moving into the house last November of 2011. After midnight, they would hear footsteps walking up the stairs from the basement, open the door into the kitchen, but when they would come out of their bedrooms, they would see nothing, except perhaps that they would turn on the light in the room. It would flicker, making a cracking sound for a time, then stop. Then this continued. They later would leave their bedroom doors open to see if they would notice anything further. And one night after 3 a.m, the grandmother was awakened to see a shadowy figure of a man pace back and forth in the living room. And when they got up the next morning, they saw the wooden floor of their living room, what looked like muddy boot prints, like from a boot. After this, they put a lock on the kitchen door to the basement. And when they would hear the footsteps come up the stairs, they tried to open the door. They would hear pounding on the door. Shortly after this, the kids would be affected during the day after school. One day, the daughter, redacted, just recently turned 12, tried to get into her bedroom, and the door was closed, and she couldn't open it, as if someone was holding it shut. After several tries, it flew open. One night, Rosa was watching television and heard what sounded like a dog barking in the kitchen. When she went to investigate, she didn't see anything, but heard scratching on the door, but still didn't see anything when she finally opened it. The boys, especially redacted, just turned 8, and redacted recently turned 10, would see a young boy around their age, and he would talk and play with them, especially in the closet. But they were scared in seeing an elderly lady, like walking death, with red eyes, usually seen in the backyard. There seemed to be mechanical difficulties, the TV getting messed up, static on the cell phones interrupting calls, the engine lights in their cars turning off, on and off, thermostat settings getting changed, things being hidden, and other such annoyances. Occasionally, they would see the sticks that adjust the Venetian blinds rock back and forth, moving from one window to the next. During the winter, the porch was filled up with horse flies, and later some 2 buckets of dirt from underneath the stairs had to be swept up. Okay, interesting. Soon, the children seemed to be affected physically by becoming sick with vomiting, diarrhea, and fever, with a lot of bleeding around the mouth and nose would be left on their pillowcases, and the mother had 3 different kidney ailments back to back. In early March, things would be ratcheted up to an unbearable level, forcing the family to leave the house before Easter. There's a very large redacted section here. Obviously, I don't have anything I can really read there. Let's see. Okay, apparently this says that the redactions relate to people the Star could not reach for comment. That weekend, there was a family get-together at the house. Redacted was sitting on a couch when something pulled her off the couch. Redacted was in the bathroom and something threw him into the middle of the room. He complained that something was pulling on his limbs and genitals, and then he saw his stomach go in and out. Next, Redacted is picked up and thrown into the freezer that is in the living room next to the kitchen. Afterwards, the kids become sleepy and go to bed. Redacted is then awakened by something is pulling her off the bed. Family members and friends begin leaving, and some complain that something has followed them, giving them a heavy feeling or a headache that may take a couple of weeks to finally dissipate. No one wants to come to the house anymore. Rosa tries to contact her mother, Ruth, over on the phone about what has occurred, which takes several tries due to bad connections, static. One can hear the other while the other can't, except for cursing, which both would hear. When Ruth tried to call back, 10 zeros appeared on Rosa's phone, which left a garbled message. Eventually, they were able to communicate to the point that Ruth would talk to her neighbor, who belongs to a church that deals with deliverance more than their Baptist church, which was reluctant to get involved in such a way. Early that week, Ruth brought in an evangelist to pray over the kids. When she went to the basement, she felt a lot of activity and was confusing, and felt Latoya was the one being attacked and would attack others through her, and that she would need an exorcism. She was so overwhelmed that she had to leave the house, but she did suggest anointing all the doors and windows with oil, go through the house with bleach and sage, incense, sprinkle salt throughout the basement, and she also set up a small altar in the basement with an open Bible and candle and incense burner. This did seem to work for 3 days. Then they discovered that the statue of the Holy Trinity that was placed in the altar had been thrown across the room, breaking off the top part. American Steve says, well, it's getting late. I need to have some sort of palate cleanser before I go to sleep. So have a good night, everyone. Good night, American Steve. Have a great one. All right. I think we are actually probably getting close to winding down anyway. So just stick with me here. We'll finish this out and see where we're at. The kids now seem to be affected outside the house, where the crazy behavior would jump from one child to the other, and they would get into a car. One would run to the car and start kicking it. Then, when restrained, the other would be thrown to the grass. Then one would start cussing or saying it's time to kill, or doing other sort of demonic chant. They would then stop, and the other would pick up where the other left off. Once inside the car, one would be rolling his head and stop, the other would start banging his head. On the arm, rest at stop, and then crazy demonic talk would start moving from one to the other. Then the entity leaves, they fall asleep. The last straw was when they witnessed a Febreze bottle levitating and moving back and forth in the living room before being thrown into Latoya's bedroom. That sounded like an explosion, which knocked the lamp to the ground, breaking it. When Latoya went into the bedroom to investigate, she found a large, dark shadow figure at the closet. With that, the family quickly got some clothes, went to a hotel, but the entity seemed to follow them there. They eventually went to stay at Latoya's brother's house, refusing to go back to their house, especially at night. But the entity seemed to follow them there, even though it would be more active once outside the house. When it was time to go back to school, the kids were so affected that they stopped going to school, which got the authorities involved. She was taking the kids to the doctors when they were under a severe attack where one would act crazy, then fall asleep, and then go to the next. Then the doctor witnessed this. He told her to take the kids to the hospital and run a series of tests, which she would do the next day, where the infamous incident occurred. The way it is described was that Rosa was holding Redacted by his hands while he was growling back at her, and she was trying to coax him back and saying, quote, "You're not Redacted. Redacted, come back." Unquote. She was walking him back up against the wall when he continued to walk backwards up the wall until her hands were over her head, and he immediately flipped over her head and landed on the other side where she never let go or got twisted up. The psychologist and the social worker from Child Protective Services left the room and eventually got security, getting the police involved as well. Towards the end of the interview, whole big section redacted. Rosa interrupted us, pointing to the bathroom light that was flickering and making an electric type of noise. I got up and take a closer look at it. It stopped the moment I got to the door. I returned back to the couch to continue the interview, and when the flickering started up again, and I got up to investigate, and again it stopped just as I got to the door. I returned and mentioned that it must be scared of me. When it got up again, and this time it continued even after I entered the room to take a look. Then I went back to get my crucifix, and it still continued even after I touched the light fixture with it. I then ignored it and continued the interview. Wait, how much longer is this thing? All right. Soon we were interrupted again, and Rosa pointed to the Venetian blinds in the kitchen, and the stick that opens them was rocking back and forth about a quarter of an inch. When I was looking at the blinds, I noticed that one in Latoya's bedroom had what seemed to be a couple of ounces of water poured down the middle of them. I pointed that out to them, and she mentioned that it was oil, and that she made the sign of a cross on all the windows and doors and blinds about a month ago, before it dried. I felt it was wet and oily and didn't remember seeing it when I blessed the kitchen. I then heard the faucet kick on, went to look at the blinds in the kitchen. You can see the effect that the vent had underneath. Moving the tags at the end of the cords opened them. Let's see. When I pointed that out to them, they mentioned that it is the only place below a window that there's a vent. There is where they mainly run along the wall in the middle of the house. I also don't remember seeing any of the tags above. When the furnace kicked on, the tags stopped moving, but the stick continued rocking back and forth, rocking from one window to the other, while the tags remained still, ruling out the cause of air currents of any sort. When I tried to resume the interviews again, we were interrupted by Rosa pointing to the floor what appeared to be wet footprints throughout the living room and concentrating around the chair Latoya was sitting. I felt them, and they were wet, and I tried to smear them with my foot. I was able to, even though I sprinkled the floor with holy water as I went through the house. You would almost have to walk through a puddle to reproduce what we were seeing, and I don't recall seeing that before. Soon Latoya began complaining about a headache. I got my crucifix, placed it upon her head, and she began to quiver and convulse. I immediately took it off since I was only prepared to conduct an investigation and didn't want to go any further. She then said she was freezing and went into her bedroom to get a blanket and then threw it off, saying she was burning up. I was surprised since I only heard stories of how it was affecting the children. I asked if it affected Rosa too, and she said that it never affected her. Latoya was then becoming lightheaded and finding difficult to concentrate and talk. I then looked at my watch to see that it was 10:30 p.m. She could call me later the week and I would finish talking, redacted. I also gave them permission to give my phone number to other witnesses and they call me. I then gave her and her mother a blessing and requested the house, or requested and left the house with them. Okay. Hey, Sean. Bro, you stop more and talk about it. So Winnie told me to say that. Okay. So I'm at this point, I'm just trying to get through this. I will admit I'm trying to get to bed at a reasonable hour tonight. But yeah, this is just kind of stuff that we've already somewhat covered. I'm just trying to, get through this and try and, finish it out. Okay, there we are. The next day, Rosa called me to say that Latoya was sick as a dog and that she was sleeping in the same room when they woke up to do something, moving the covers off their feet. She then mentioned that her brother is moving to Indianapolis and that there's another place available there with the same landlord. I told her that I would be willing to go out there and bless the new home since it could avoid going through all the hassle of procuring an exorcism. Sean told me you should read it faster than I'm getting there, Jude. I want to just get through all this because, yeah, this is interesting. That Tuesday, I got off a call from her friend who was present at the March 10th get together, seeing the daughter mysteriously be pulled off the couch and complaining about being pulled off the bed. After he left the house, he had a headache that lasted about 2 weeks and would never go back to the house again. The same day, I got a call from her brother, redacted, who confirmed the same event. When they were staying at his home, he witnessed the kids acting strange, and he never saw or doing demonic chants involving numbers, where one would pick up where the other left off and being thrown around and flipped by unseen forces, slamming their heads against the car and having to be restrained once in the car and then fall asleep immediately. On Friday afternoon, I got a call from Lake County Police Detective handling the case, obviously redacted. He told me they were examining the house that past Wednesday during the middle of the day, and we exchanged experiences. He said that the Gary police officer, Charles Austin, was experiencing strange phenomena on his radio as he approached the house, with the channels changing rapidly, hearing a kind of voice in the static until the battery went dead, suddenly, even though it was fully charged that morning. He mentioned that he took a lot of pictures and voice recordings, and that redacted brought a videotape recorder that didn't work since the battery was dead despite being fully charged when he left. He had to use his phone to video record the visit. He was interested in contacting me. On Wednesday, May 2nd, redacted of the Hammond Police Department called that redacted was consulting him as the former local expert on crimes involving the occult with the present one. He said that he would send me his report along with the DVD of the investigation of the house and that he would help my report to the bishop, which I said would indeed. He asked me if I saw photographs taken by redacted, and I said that I hadn't. He told me that there was one I needed to look at, and he would contact redacted to send that to me. He did call and send me the photograph by email, which looked like a white face underneath the stairs to the right, and perhaps a darker greenish face in the middle. He later reviewed the audio recording while he was taking those pictures in the basement, and after he mentioned that noises would be heard in the basement, it picks up someone whispering, "Hey." I mentioned that I was told by the youngest boy, or told that the youngest boy liked to play and talk with an unseen boy around his age. He mentioned that he found it strange that the poured cement floor appeared to be cut underneath the stairs and that there was dirt. When he was going to procure a dog, he was going to ask the family and the landlord if you could dig underneath and if I wanted to be there. And I told him if it wasn't a crime scene, wasn't a crime scene, I would like to see if anything was buried there, and poured blessing salt over that area. There they were also going to check to see if there were any unsolved crimes, missing persons involving children in the area, and a history of who owned and lived in the house. On Saturday, May 5th, I received a promised police report. In looking at the DVD, there were no traces of footprints or the oil that I saw in the blinds. On Monday, May 7th, I drove to Indy to bless the apartment before they would go move in that Friday. On Wednesday, May 9th, Redacted called and procured a dog, however, not a cadaver dog, since there's only one with the Chicago Police Department used for looking over a wide area, and that they would revisit the house the next morning. In the research, they discovered that the house was built in 1926, and a newlywed white couple moved in and lived there all their life. After she died, it was sold to the new owners. It was sold, and the new owners never lived there, but would rent it out to various tenants. The present owner bought the house in 2004 and rented it out to various tenants. On the block, there was one murder, one domestic dispute that was solved. The next day, when the house was revisited, I was there. There was no reaction by the dog. The police began digging slowly, and at 2 feet deep, many disturbing things began to turn up, beginning with a fingernail, then a pair of women's underwear, a heavy metal object that seemed to be there for a long time. It was thought to be a weight that would hold down a drapery cord, hair beads, the tops of various candy bar wrappers, a pair of socks with the bottoms below the ankles cut off, a strange oval red lid from a tea kettle perhaps, and what we thought was a bone turned out to be a plastic broken piece from perhaps a shoehorn. After about 3 feet deep, you can see pristine layer of sand, indicating that no digging went any deeper. Ruling out any possible crime scene, the hole was filled in with its contents, and I poured blessing salt over it. A possibility that back in the 30s, a couple's son may have accidentally been killed when he was playing around by swinging the drapery cord, and he was conked over the head by the 10-pound weight. The grieving mother may have turned to the occult to conjure up her son with having her husband's involvement, who liked the energy boost from candy bars while burying the personal items surrounding the death. If this worked once, perhaps it was tried other times with people close to, like her mother. If future research turns up some names that can be verified, it may be worthwhile to have a mass fed for each to move on and enter the light of Christ's redeeming love. Unfortunately, when Latoya entered the house for the first time since my first interview with her, her headache remained. Oil seemed to condense and drip onto the steps from the crosses she had made. It also appeared all over the blinds of her bedroom. The police officers wiped down the blinds, closed it, and sealed the door for half an hour, and then opened again. More oil appeared. Last Tuesday, May 15th, Rosa called and said that Latoya was getting worse. When I talked to her, she was having nightly dreams of Redacted graping and intimidating her, which seems to be a new phase in her experience. I told her that I would be wrapping up my report to try and see the bishop as soon as I can. Submitted to the most reverent Most Revered Dale J. Melzick, Bishop of Gary, on this Monday, the 21st day of May, 2012, signed by Reverend Michael L. Maginot, pastor of St. Stephen Martyr Parish, Maryville, Indiana. Permission granted by phone at 3:30 p.m. Wednesday, May 30th, 2012. So that is the full that is the full and complete reading of the report. Yes, Sean. Yeah, I know. Finally. Look, I was trying to get through it as quickly as I could, but hey, it is what it is. All right. Couple of minor, final things to kind of go over before we actually close it out. So we have one more video from Inside Edition. They did a later follow-up to the case. And so this was 3 years ago. Okay. On October 19th, 2019. All right. And I'm just going to say it. Look, I am not one for the candor of this particular anchor, but hey, is what it is. So there we go.
We're flashing back to hell. More specifically, a portal to hell somewhere in Indiana. Plus, we tracked down the priest who was brought in to close that hell portal. This priest is revealing what happened behind the scenes in an all-new interview. You're not going to want to miss it.
It's your first look inside the house known as the Portal to Hell, a place where demons supposedly wrought havoc with a helpless family in horror straight out of The Exorcist.
That the power of Christ compels you!
This is the woman who lived in the House of Horrors with her 3 children before Zach Bagans bought it. Latoya Ammons fought back tears when she told us how they fled in terror after her daughter was raised right off her bed. She says the demons sounded like this.
We've waited 5 months. It sounded like something dead.
She says she anointed the rooms with holy oil and read aloud from the Bible, but the nightmare went on and listened to a sound that cannot be explained by police who looked at serious goings-on. While 2 cops are talking in the basement, someone can be heard saying,
You in.
What was your reaction?
Okay,
I was in shock.
Exorcismo te un bendissime.
Enter Father Michael Maginot, a local priest who got permission from the Bishop of Gary, Indiana, to perform an exorcism on Latoya.
Did you at one point believe this house was the portal to hell?
There was a portal.
Latoya moved out of the house and now lives many miles away. She knows her story is hard to believe.
Some people claim that you made this all up, that this was some sort of an elaborate hoax. Is this a hoax?
No, I don't feel that someone will have a reason to make something up like that.
Do you believe that house is possessed by demons?
I do. I feel that it's something very bad going on in that house.
How did you get involved with the house in the first place? And can you tell us a little bit about the exorcism you performed?
Yes, I got a call on April 20th, 2012 from the Gary Hospital, and they asked me to come out there to perform an exorcism.
The hospital asked you to perform an exorcism?
Yeah, and that was kind of a strange request. And I said, well, no, you need permission from the bishop to do that. But what's going on? And then they told me several staff members saw this boy walking up the wall backwards, flipping over the grandmother's head who was holding him, and sat down and turned at them and had with white eyes. So I went to the house on that Sunday.
And the kid was home from the hospital?
One was.
Okay, I'm just going to admit, yes, the rocking back and forth is a little annoying, but just, just saying I'm dealing with it. And yes, this is the Father Maginot, who did the exorcism, did the investigation, and wrote the report. Yeah, I know. I know. It gets on my nerves too. So we'll just power through it.
Was locked up in a child psychiatric unit, and the other 2 were put into foster care.
So tell me about the, once you went in and began to perform the exorcism, tell us a little bit about that.
It took about 6 weeks of investigation. I was thinking the children were possessed, but and trying to find out about that. Then I discovered, she was possessed, and so I put the crucifix on her to test it. She began convulsing, and so I took it off. I said, okay, yeah, and then she stopped.
How did you feel when that happened? I mean, had you seen something like that before? What was going through your head? Like, what were your emotions when she began convulsing?
Yeah, so I said, oh, there is something. Definitely there. The lights would flicker in the bathroom, and then I would go over there to take a closer look. And the moment I got to the bathroom, they would stop flickering. I did bless the house, but again, things were happening afterwards. The rods were swinging back and forth. There was oil coming down her blinds. There were footprints that appeared around her. I was there for 4 hours, and the last 2 hours, all these different phenomena were happening.
Zach Bagans was a documentarian who found out about this story and found out about you and your practice of trying to exorcise the demons from this house, and became so involved with it that he actually bought the property. Is that correct?
Yes. That's right. We were going to end the movie that, the house is fine and the story is over. I was kind of surprised Zach never called, and then I heard he was wrapping up. And so I did give him a call, and he told me that everything went haywire and such. All of a sudden I get a call that he demolished the house. And I go, oh, you didn't, tell me that. And so I was a little worried because now it's an open lot.
So once the house is demolished, it actually lets the spirits out. Is that what you're saying?
We did cleanse the property.
Right.
But anyone could go on there, do some sort of ritual there, and open it all up, and it could be 7 times worse.
Reopen the portal, kind of like...
Reopen it by doing some ritual there. Now try to reopen what was cleansed.
Right.
And it could be worse than before.
And that's where we're at. All right. So, as kind of, I guess, a final note to this story. So, yes, as they mentioned, that the property was purchased by Zach Bagans. Apparently, Relativity Media picks up the rights to the story. And, yeah, a company has acquired the life rights to Latoya Ammons and her family, who underwent the exorcism in a series of bizarre and dangerous occurrences. So, yeah, apparently the movie rights were sold and on this one. Now, I don't remember if they actually ended up making a movie out of this. I think it may have actually been, but yeah, apparently, yeah, Zach Bagans apparently bought the property, and he ended up, after doing his documentary there, which apparently a lot of weird stuff happened. His whole production was haywire, had lots of problems. Apparently after that, he just demolished the house, and that was it. So, yeah. Jude Curio says he kept the stairs for his museum. Ooh, boy. Yeah, not sure why you would want that, but okay. I mean, hey, it's Zach Bagans, so whatever. All right. Folks, that brings us to the end of our story tonight. That brings us to the end of this whole saga. And I'll just be completely honest. Whether you believe it or not, whether you find any of this credible or not, the fact is that for a short time, between 2011 and 2012, this family underwent something, and there were enough people that actually allegedly saw the events that happened here, and it was enough to scare a lot of people quite a bit. So, again, there's a whole lot of very weird evidence to this case, and while we can't say 100% for sure what happened in there, it definitely makes you wonder. Sure, thank you so much for this. Scary and interesting. Good night, Kaiser in chat. All right, folks. So, yeah, that's the end of the show for tonight. So I am going to go ahead and probably sign off here in just a little bit. I do want to real quick run through. So for everybody that is on the replay crew or whatnot, thank you all. And yeah, to you guys in chat as well. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me, watching this. And I definitely say, if you haven't already done so, please definitely go down there, hit that like button. For those of you on the replay crew, if this is your first time catching what I do, please definitely go down there, hit that subscribe button as well. It is a huge help to the channel, and I do appreciate it a lot. So definitely, if you can do that for me, I'd appreciate it a lot. And I just want to say real quick there, so I've got some fun stuff coming up tomorrow. I do have, excuse me. I do have a stream tomorrow night. In place of Real Talk Live, I'm going to be doing my discussion with MLS Law about Star Wars. We're going to be having that tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern, and it is going to be a good time. All right, folks. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great night. I will see you all later, and have a great rest of your evening. Peace.
You ever wonder why we're here? You ever notice that the information that we're being fed doesn't always add up to the truth? Do you ever look out your window at night when the rain's falling down? You ever look down the street and wonder what is going on around you? You ever look out at night and ask yourself, is this all that I am? Where am I? What am I? Is this all there is? Is this real life? As technology continues to bring us closer together, it also tears us further apart. We watch the skies and look at the planet around us and its natural beauty as it continues to march forward on and on and on, unending, unceasing, unwavering. And yet our world, everything that we've built, crumbles around us. We wonder, is this it? Is there more? There's got to be. We can search. We want to learn. We want to understand. We want to see all that we can see, know all that we can know. We want to look out there. We want to peek behind the veil. We want to ask the questions that nobody will answer. We want to light those fires, the sparks that ignite a curiosity in us. And we ask ourselves, what is out beyond all of that? Beyond